Would you walk away from a life that looked exactly like your dream on paper? My guest today for the Nurse CEO podcast did exactly that. Sara Vezensek was living what most people would call the ultimate success story: luxury yachts, private flights, $1 million deals, and incredible money at a very young age. But behind all of it, she felt trapped, constantly on call, and completely disconnected from the freedom that she thought financial success would give her. In this episode, we're diving into how Sara walked away from that luxury life and built something entirely on her own terms, a business rooted in freedom, ownership, and purpose. Sara is now an online business coach who helps ambitious women turn their lived experience into high impact, profitable offers, simplify their messaging, and stop trading time for money. We talk about what it really takes to build a business in today's market, how to create content that actually converts without needing a massive audience, and how to design offers that give you both income and the space you're looking for in your real life. This is a powerful and honest conversation, and I'm so excited to have Sada on the show today to share her experience with you. So let's get into it. I am so excited to have with us on the show today Sara Vezensek. Welcome to the Nurse CEO podcast, Sada.
Thank you so much for having me. I am so excited for this conversation today.
Yeah, and I know you and I just recorded on your show yesterday. I'm not sure how the the schedule is gonna line up for our shows coming out at the same time, but it's really nice to actually be able to have like a almost like a follow-up conversation to what we were talking about yesterday. So, for our listeners who are new to you, do you wanna share a little bit about your story? I was looking at your bio and it sounds like you have quite the interesting experience to get to even where you are today and what you actually went through that is informing everything you do.
Yeah, of course. I think my story for me has been so inspiring when other people hear it because it basically is proof that whatever limits that we think we have just do not exist and that we're like our own boundary to what is possible. So since I was little, like I come from Slovenia, which has 2 million people, and I never knew of like the luxury world or travels like that is just in movies. So for us, America was this like big dream that we, want to get to, and we'll leave it to what it actually is and all of that for some other time, some different podcast. But I always dreamt of like having my own business and traveling the world being paid. So very early on, I realized that for that, I need my own money. And I started working, which probably isn't really legal anywhere in the world, but in a wine bar at like 13, got my own money and understood that exchanging your time for money for like $4 an hour isn't really the thing that you should be doing. And I'm clearly not getting enough for what I want. So, long story short, I basically always tried to find ways to earn more money because that to me meant freedom. That to me meant that I can make any decision that I want depend on myself. It was never about fancy cars, purses, anything like that. It was always travel experiences and being able to travel the world. And that led me to be a chef one day, to managing a super yacht another day, and being a lifestyle manager from being a server in the span of 5 years, which is definitely not a normal projection or path that anybody would take. But I think this to your listeners should just inspire them that your brain and your subconscious and everything that you want in life, there is a way to get it. Yes, there is steps that you will have to take. You will have to become a completely different version of yourself. But long story short, I had it all on paper. I was, super successful, getting basically my yearly salary per month. My parents were like bragging about me, my friends were looking up to me. But deep down, I was so unhappy, even with all the wealth around me and, dream life of the rich and famous, living with the 1%. And in that moment, I just realized that I will never be happy working for someone else, which, in long story short, basically guided me to a point where I wanted to create my own business. And that's bring us to where we are today and what I am doing now.
Yeah, so I would love to hear a little bit about living in you said Slovenia, right?
Mhm.
How did you how did you come across because I feel like where I am, it's like and you're younger than me, you're quite a bit younger than me. I feel like you get exposed to stuff because it's around you, right? It's just, it's happening your friends are doing it, your bosses are doing it. Like, it's just like, this is what we do in America. We're very entrepreneurial. What is it like in Slovenia? Is that like nobody even gets what you're doing as far as an online business is concerned? Or is it because I know we were talking about this on your show where it's I've been in this for like 15 years now, and back 15 years ago in the United States, it was like, this is a little weird. Is it still like that where you're from, or is it kind of like all of this online entrepreneurship is just everywhere now and people think it's totally normal that you run an online business?
Absolutely nobody knows what the hell I'm
Nobody knows.
doing. Absolutely nobody. Like, even my parents who, seen me through this process and technically know everything that I'm doing, like, in detail. I will call them when, like, the big first sale was happening and all of that. They have absolutely no idea what it is that I do. And I think the confusion of it being online and that it's a ridiculous job if you really think about it. Like, I pick up my phone, I speak my mind into a camera, and then I get a client that magically appears in my DM, and then I sell them and I get to work with the dreamiest people. It is insane. Like, we can't really expect people to understand, but I feel like in people who are slightly tapped in and are slightly paying attention are like, "Oh my god, this is the shit. Let's go do it. Like, I can't wait. This is like the path to wealth in 2020 X," right? Like, it's been for a while, but people who are slightly tapped in are clocking that this is it, that, kind of understand what's happening, but people who are not are just looking at me like I have lost my marbles or whatever the saying is.
Yeah, well, at least you're doing well, so they're like, "As crazy as this sounds, it's not like you're also, you know, homeless or
Struggling.
something." Yeah. So, what was that like to create something that you didn't really necessarily see other people in your own country doing? Like, is there? Because 'cause I'm always curious about if you're designing something that you're not seeing,
Mhm.
how first of all, how do you know it's gonna work? Like, did you just borrow belief from the people that you were seeing from the United States doing it? Was there anyone who was trying to talk you out of it? What was that experience like?
I think for me, as long as I see someone who is successful in it, which was online, it was never in person, I know that if they made it happen, then automatically there is a path for me making it happen. Now, is that a guarantee that I will reach their level? Absolutely not. But I think the pro to my crazy story is that I've switched so many careers with absolutely no logical like thread between them. And I mean, no one goes from, scrubbing dishes to then managing like a 280-foot super yacht in a span of a year, right? Like, that doesn't happen. I know exactly what I did and how I positioned myself to get there. But once I put my mindset into, okay, this is the only way that I know of how to get financial freedom, time freedom, and location freedom and work for myself. So I was like, you know what? I'm locked in. And how I actually got into it was through digital marketing because I had to secretly create this business because I was still working for other people. So I ended up actually selling products like in 2022 of other creators to kind of see if this is real because it doesn't seem real when you're just looking at people, especially in marketing that we talked about yesterday from 2020 to 2023. I'm sitting on my butt and there's just money magically coming into my account out of nowhere. And I was like, this doesn't seem legit, but there must be something to it because these girls are making bank. So that's how I tapped into it. And it was a whirlwind like of really bad investments, really bad coaches, but then finally like found my way of like how to actually piece this together as an actual business. And I would say that I saw a couple of amazing women like entrepreneurs. Jamie C is one of them that led it with intention and integrity versus promoting making money to make money. It was more of a
Mhm.
legacy thing. And I was like, you know what? Okay, I see myself in her. I can create something in that direction, but like my own.
Mhm. Yeah, I feel like the whole I don't know if this is what you're talking about, but the whole like faceless, let me just sell something. Like
Mhm.
I see this a lot now where somebody will have like an AI profile picture and they'll be like and I'm sure this is not what you did or what, I don't know, maybe you were taught to do this, but where it's like they'll copy posts that they're seeing in their niche, quote unquote, and literally repost it as if it's their stuff and then send people to like a $7 ebook about
Mm.
here's how to sleep better when you have ADHD or whatever. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so crazy that people are doing this, because I come from this world of like, you put yourself out there, you share your expertise. You do this kind of stuff, right? And I know you do it as well. And it's like this belief that you can just, you know, hide behind an AI profile picture and like sell a PDF that you probably didn't even write. I think that stuff has come in very hard in the last few years. And unfortunately, I feel like it's disrupted our market, which, I think is very legitimate. But then people are like, oh, there's all these quote digital marketer people that are coming in here and, scamming people. So have you noticed any issues there where what you were selling a few years ago now has to be talked about differently, positioned differently, sold differently, because there is that level of skepticism around online marketing and sales in the first place?
1,000%. And I think where I struggled in the beginning was I did not know how to articulate. And I was doing the exact same thing that anybody that's new in the space does. We look for inspiration at other creators, and then you take that and like put a little twist on it. But you have no idea the thought process and the structure that actually goes into posts that perform. And it's not just one post, it's like an actual content marketing structure that all ties together. It's not like one thing that's going to go viral. And I think that's a one really important thing that I want your listeners to go away with. There's such a narrative for so long that you need these massive numbers, massive visibility in order to be successful online. And that can be really discouraging because if someone's starting right now, especially on Instagram, if you're wanting to get to 10K followers with all this noise, that you would number one have to be so unique or pay a ton of money for the followers that would probably not be aligned. And I want to calm you down that you do not need a huge audience. I have a client who has started on 69 followers and was earning 10K cash months. So, which is insane, but definitely not normal. But it's proof that it can happen because even if you have 100, 200 views per post, that's 100, 200 people watching and listening to what you're saying. And if we translate to that to a room of people, you would probably be a little nervous speaking in front of 200 people, which
Mm-hmm.
when we like change that perspective, then you're like, okay, like I have quite a bit of people watching me. So it's not about getting more views. It's speaking to that like one person in a aligned way with an actual structure. So yes, absolutely. People who don't know what they're doing are currently not making sales, no matter what the audience size they have. And people who actually have structure, know sales psychology, and are tweaking that into their posts are the ones with results to show.
Yeah. Well, and I'm glad you said that, because I think it is a very different market than it was a few years ago. And unfortunately, with all of that stuff I was saying before, where people are just like making these basically fake accounts, selling something they didn't create, stealing other people's content, I feel like there's so much of that because it sounds so easy, right? It's like, oh, just
Mhm.
like print money from your computer like an ATM or something. So you get so much of that flooding social media that people are just tired, right? They're just tired of
Mhm.
seeing it all. They're tired of sorting through it. And so I think the stuff that might have worked to get people's attention a few years ago, because it wasn't, every other post you're seeing is trying to sell you something, that stuff unfortunately is not working as well, like you said. But the nice thing is that you don't need a huge audience. You don't need the volume anymore. You can really get very specific. And I do think that for most people who are legitimate experts, that's their advantage, right? Is they actually do have an opinion. They do have unique perspective. They do have stories to tell. And so the people who are maybe like, the causing of the noise, they're not actually gonna be competitors. They're not actually gonna last that long, because it's not something that people are wanting to see anymore. I think it's like it kind of like had a very big burst of like, oh, this is the thing. And then now everyone's like, oh, never mind, this isn't working the way I thought it would. So talk to me about the messaging strategy that is working for you and your clients for making sales. So I know we talked a little bit about it before we hit record. Is it something that is more about the public facing message? Is it once somebody's actually in conversation with you? Is it kind of like a full start to finish process? What do you walk your clients through?
Mm, I love this question because English is not my first language. So I had this limiting belief that I will never be good at marketing. I will never be able to like translate of who I am into content because I know my energy. I'm super bubbly. So how can I tell people what I do and how amazing I am at it? And I think a lot of business owners struggle with that because it's a skill. It's not, you won't just guess it and get it right, except if you do it for 15 plus years and eventually you figure it out. But what I do is I call it stop overthinking and stop being the actual abbreviation of the content that I teach. But before we get into that, I would love for whoever is listening to just envision simplicity. So, what I teach my clients is if you have a process, whether that's one on one or one to many, doesn't matter, you have a framework. Even if you don't know that you have a framework, you have a framework, which could be step one, two, three, four, that you take every single client through. And that framework is what makes you different to anybody else on the internet. That makes it you. This is your signature process. So, step one, where people struggle, is how do you actually get to your core topics? What does perform, right? Like, how will I ever know? At least that was for me. So I'll speak from personal experience. But if you're starting with marketing, like, how will you know what your audience wants to hear? So we simplify it. So let's say your framework has 4 steps. So each step is now going to be your core topic. Very simple. And this actually makes sure that the whole process is now covered in the beginning. So you actually test your marketing and see what's working and what isn't. So, how I structure it is you have 4 steps to your framework, and now we have 4 core topics. If you have 6, then it's 6. If you have 5, then it's 5. Super simple. And now, what I do with my clients every single week is, as you said, there's a lot of noise online. So instead of going with the noise and doing what everybody else is doing, I actually trained AI, and you can technically do the same. But instead of speaking to problems or to, doing educational content, I teach people how to, from each core topic, create 10 super specific, I call them aha moments or like light bulb moments, where your client realizes that something is happening, that they need help. To give you a very simple example, if we just do a fitness influencer, right? Like you could say like 10 exercises to grow your glutes. Or an aha moment would be a woman that wakes up and passes the mirror, looks herself in the mirror or catches the glimpse and still isn't the body size that she wishes to be, or is like jumping up and down in the living room, like trying to squeeze herself in a pair of pants. Like that's a moment in time where your client has actually experienced that. So, long story short, where you have these 4 core topics, we will now break it down into very specific aha moments that you can now use in content. Now, if we have 4 pillars and 10 moments under each one, that gives you like 40 topics to talk about. And wouldn't you say like how important that is to like really have like specific things that you're talking to, because then people can actually relate to what you're saying and you don't have to work on volume. So that would be step one of just like being specific on how and what and who you're targeting, basically.
Mhm. I will say, and it's so funny because I'm like, I can see so much overlap with the things that we do with our clients and just the whole idea of having a signature process and pulling your content from there. And I think one thing, in addition to the person seeing themselves in that moment or in that aha moment, like you're talking about, I think the other thing it does is it's now showing your audience that you understand them because you are working with them. Like maybe you went through the experience. You work with clients who have that experience. And I think the more specific you get, which people can get so weird about, like, oh, I don't want to be too specific because I'm going to leave people out.
Mhm.
But the crazy thing about the specificity is that when you go hyper specific and it's almost so specific that only a small percentage of your audience would ever have even experienced that exact thing, people actually connect it to their own experiences. So it's like, oh, maybe I wasn't like squeezing myself into a pair of pants, but I, tried on a dress and it didn't fit around my, my rib cage or whatever, right? And it's like they'll remember their own personal experience with that hyper specificity. So I love that you're talking about that because I feel like people underestimate how much expertise can be demonstrated by showing that they know their client.
Mhm. So important. And I think this is where you have to flex the muscle. This is the client identity, quote unquote, problem or, hiccup or obstacle that you have to overcome. And you will only get better the more you practice. So this is where I like basically show them how to teach AI to just give you ideas based on like certain prompts where you can input your ideal client, you can input your framework, you can input your positioning, your mission statement, all of that to get some ideas of where you can stem from. Because sometimes in the beginning, where you don't have a ton of clients, it's hard to think of these moments. But then the second step to this is you have been in business for like 15 years. You know exactly what works for the programs that you had because you have years of experience. But for someone who isn't, I think there's a really good way to have a method to how to test your marketing. So now that we have our 10, 40, let's say, aha moments, what I do with my clients is week one, whatever week it is, right? But like the first week that we start, we're going to take one moment from the first topic. And for the 1 week, we will just speak about that moment, but from different directions. And this basically creates like a mini sales page. And this is where like the stop abbreviation, like stop overthinking comes in. So what you will do and how I guide you through it is basically first on Monday, let's say we're going to post 5 posts this week. You're going to talk about this hyper specific problem from a problem awareness lens, which means that you are only going to talk about the problems this person is experiencing, not the solution, not like, because we love to talk about everything, but like hyper specific, again, in moments in time or what type of problems they're experiencing because they're squeezing themselves into the pants, like they're late night snacking, all these things. Then on the second day, this is the one where is my favorite. I call it objection because if on Monday we're talking about a problem, then on Tuesday I would tell them of how they're thinking that they will solve this problem, but how this is actually a long way around or is not going to get them to the result, which basically really showcases you as the expert in the field and also tells them like, listen, I know that this is what you think you should be doing and that's normal because you don't know have like X, Y, and Z, but here is what is actually going to get you to the result without actually giving the solution. Wednesday would be a solution piece. Thursday is where I love to do a transparency or like transformation story from my own angle of when I've been in this situation, which is great for kind of like brand awareness and stuff like that. And then on a Friday, we would basically invite people into the hour. And what that does is hits it from all different angles, but it also, let's say after a month or 2 months, not only shows you which topics and which moments in time are performing really well, but also what type of posts are performing really well because you can see which week what was happening. So it's a really nice, simple structure to have in the beginning for a couple months to test what's working.
Mhm. It's it's so funny. I'm like laughing because I'm like, "Oh my gosh, there's so many overlaps," but then I would never call myself like a social media expert.
Mhm.
And I have enough copywriting background that I'm like, "Oh my gosh, this is so funny because it's so similar to the actual principles of copywriting." And I think that's something that
Mhm.
people don't really get when they're doing marketing on, like, let's say Instagram, right? Is they're looking at
Mhm.
Instagram as a, how do I go viral? How do I like use the right trending audio? How do I, is it
Yeah.
carousels or reels or, whatever should I be doing? And they're not even looking at the actual the psychology behind why somebody would even buy something as
Mhm.
why they should post about it, right? And so I think it's so easy to create content that is designed to get eyeballs. And I shouldn't say
Mhm.
easy because it's getting harder, but creating stuff to get eyeballs is a totally different approach than creating stuff to get sales. And I love that you're pointing out the things that are really part of those psychological sales triggers that can be done in your social media content and not just in things like emails or sales pages, that kind of thing. And then tell me if I'm accurately understanding this. So you said you had 40, let's say the 40 aha moments because
Mhm.
you have 10 different ones for each category. Does that mean that you could theoretically have 40 different weeks of content
Mhm.
because each week is its own little,
Yeah,
5-part framework? So now
exactly.
now you guys have no excuse to ever say that you don't know what to post because Sada just gave you 40 post ideas in one
Mm.
short conversation.
And what I want to add here is I've been like, I always like to find ways of how to do the least amount of work for the best reward. And if you do this, let's say for 4 weeks, you go through it once, basically, right? You go through topic one, two, three, four, and then you do it for 2 months. You will start seeing how there's similarities to what you're doing. And you will also see, wow, topic one and topic four are performing really well. Just double down on those. You don't have to keep pushing number two and number three. And after, let's say, 3 months, repost the content that was already performing. No need to keep creating new things. No one is going to stalk you 4 months back. Maybe take the same creative, change the photo on a carousel. Take the same video, change the video behind it. It works so well. Even captions, reuse captions that are working. This is where like it's we love data. And I don't know what you use, but Metricool has been life changing for me because with these types of posts, you will freak out a little bit because there's not going to be lots of engagement. There's not going to be lots of comments. Like it will look like nothing is happening. But if you actually track like website clicks or like that on the back end on wherever platform you want, you will see how your website clicks are going to go like this. And people are going to have this like stalking like behavior because you're reading their minds.
Mhm. I haven't used Metricool before. Does that show which pieces of content are then leading to those clicks?
Pretty much. So basically, because it's connected, I have it connected to TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and my website.
Mhm.
So because it's on a desktop, it's very easy to then look at it then on your phone. And what I will do is I'm going to check the followers, the engagement on the posts, and then relate it to clicks on the website. And you can quickly start seeing trends of a post that didn't quote unquote go viral, maybe had 200 views, but I had like 200 visits to my website that day or like the
Mhm.
next day. So you can kind of see the trends. And all I do is then save those pieces of content once a month and just start narrowing down each month of what's performing while still creating something for visibility on the weekend. So I would say like be specific and pay attention Monday to Friday. And then on the weekends, do like a short form reel with like a catchy hook to capture some leads or like a really, really cool like personal story, which I have so many that works really well for my brand. But it can be anything of, that is more like a viral type of post, even if that's 1,000 views, as in quote
Mhm.
unquote viral.
I feel like people are so focused on the immediate vanity metric of the individual post's performance that they're really and I will say for me, I don't necessarily care about vanity metrics, but I also think I'm like not also looking at other metrics. I'm just kind of that person who will like post what I feel like posting and I'm
Mhm.
just like that's what I felt like saying today. And so maybe not the most organized way to do your content, but I think I have enough reps of doing content like
Yes.
that it's kind of just I don't have to think about it a ton, but I really love this whole systematized approach to the content strategy because I know for me personally, we're making a lot of really big changes in our business and our offer and who we're talking to. And part of me wants to be listening to, my inner guidance and my
Mhm.
intuition about things. But then also, I think just knowing that, hey, if I'm starting to talk about new things and I want to see what stuff people are resonating with, I can apply a more organized strategy like that to actually test messaging. Um,
Mhm.
because a lot of times I think the way I do it is I'm a little bit more focused on what do I hear people repeating back to me? What do I feel like people are saying was what drew them in? And not that that's bad, but it's a lot more subjective, I would say, than being able to look at actual numbers and say, oh wow, like this one really did a lot better. This one got more shares. This one got more traffic to the website. I think having that actual hard data to look at can really allow you to see more than just kind of the gut instinct of like, I feel like that landed with people.
1,000%. And to me, it gave me like a peace of mind because I finally was like, oh, this is how you track. Because
Hmm.
data will always give you the truth. So whether you want to use it or not is just great. But what you mentioned, I think, is also so important because it seems like that everybody that comes in, you're basically inquiring either how they found you or what resonated with them, which I think is also very important. Because when you're asking a new follower of how they found you or anything like that, you again, more data, more proof of what's working, what isn't working. So you can do it
Hmm.
many different ways, but I have been obsessed with like little tracking now because I can just narrow down and perfect it. So in, maybe half more year, I will spend 15 minutes on content because I will just schedule out posts or tweak them. And I don't have to worry about recording something except if it's in the moment and I'll test that. But yeah, it
Hmm.
just simplifying is what I'm all about. Simplify your business.
Yeah. And I will say that's for somebody who's newer to business or growing an account that doesn't have like thousands of people that are engaging in any given moment. I mean, this is you almost have to do that, right? I think I have the benefit of having been in business long enough that I have enough people in my audience that I can do a little bit more of that. What are people actually responding to? But when somebody is a new business owner and it's like, I have 50 followers, like nobody's responding to anything. How am I supposed to know what people are resonating with? I do think your method would be really helpful for them to be using because they're not just trying to like guess what people are resonating with. They're actually looking at the information and being like, oh, this is what people are actually responding to. Especially because I do think there's a lot of people that don't publicly engage with stuff,
Mhm.
especially anymore. I almost feel like people are so burnt out from a lot of the stuff going on and the content that's coming out that they're like if they'll like something, but they won't do anything about it. They won't like tap it or comment. They're just like, "Oh, I really like that and I really like that person." And they're thinking about it and they're building that brand trust with you, but they're not like doing anything that you're, "Oh, I got a lot of likes on that post." Like you could have put out a real banger of a post that a lot of people were like, "Ooh, that's really good," but they didn't say anything about it. Or that could have been the one post that got somebody to apply for your services, but they didn't comment on it. So you didn't realize like, oh, that message was something that I should be putting out like once a month or something. So I feel like for people who they need that data to actually tell them what to focus on, it would be really helpful for them to use that system. Okay, so then once people are making these sales, so they're getting people's attention, they're getting the right people into their business, they're getting clients. The next problem that you can run into, which is a little bit of a better problem to have, but it's not, we don't like to just leave problems as they are. The next problem is you may not have space for more clients, especially if you're doing strictly one on one. So, what do you do with your clients who are one on one service providers, coaches, experts that are either starting to get burnt out on one on one, or they don't have space in their calendar, or maybe they're someone like me that I have kids, really young kids, and I literally cannot take that many one on one clients. It's just not even possible. And so, what do you help them do to overcome that limitation?
I love that. I think the first part, as we said, is like simplifying your sales process. I do want to just add here that your content in itself will never make you sales. So content doesn't convert. A conversion is actually like then a sales conversation in a DM or on a sales call, which again, you get to polish those skills. But once people are in and you can hold them, now you need a container. And what any service provider will tell you, or like anybody listening will know, that if you are providing your time and access to you, you are screwed. This is like quote unquote the best case scenario business, and life will never go as planned. So if you're someone who's like live launching, holding a ton of one-on-one clients, but wanting like 5, 6 figures in reoccurring revenue and not starting your months on zero and panicking, and also not having like a crazy calendar, this is what I do with every single entrepreneur. Number one, we touch base on framework. And this is so important because if you have your signature process in actual steps, it will not only give you clarity, but it will also show you where you can create leverage. And if you're currently selling your time, well, you can't scale your time past what you already did. So, what we get to do is package your signature framework, your full process into an offer where now your knowledge is the thing that you're selling, not access to you. So, what that gives you is, let's say you sign a new client, instead of signing them one on one, you're like, okay, I'll put you in this container. You have access to every single step that I teach. And then our one on one call is actually going to be for implementation. And this gives you leverage immediately. And the second thing this does is a lot of people are afraid of like a group program or an offer because they think that people won't pay high ticket for a offer where they don't get access to someone like every day. And once you package that, and in that offer, now you created leverage, you can tweak in elements of one on one support, which could be Slack access, which could be, quarterly planning sessions, which could be whatever that is, and then group hot seat coaching calls, however you want to structure it, completely different on every business. But that means that you are only implementing on that call and you can just direct people, like, hey, module one, module two, this is the document, go here, go look here. And then they just come to you for questions and implementation. And it is a game changer of how then you can not only stack clients, clear out your calendar. And like my full philosophy is like at least 5 figures in reoccurring revenue for like at least 6 months out while working 15-hour weeks. And that's where I want to get every single client to as a stepping stone. And then we scale from there. But if you do not have leverage and if you can't turn off your phone, step away while your business is still bringing in money, then there is a problem that needs to be fixing.
Mhm. Most of the people that we have worked with over the years, it's like eh, their mind is blown when they consider the possibility that they could make money without literally being on the computer or their phone. And I I do feel like there's the dark side of the industry where they're like, you know, make money sipping drinks on the beach and you never talk to a client and you never interact with anyone, and I don't think that's the vibe, and I don't think that's what you're teaching either. As you
Mhm.
were saying, like you can still have a lot of touch points, you can still be even doing one-on-one sessions or one-on-one support options, but it's that idea that you're not selling your time anymore. And
Mhm.
something I always tell my clients is truly people are not paying for your time. Even if your offer is 100% one on one, even if that's all you deliver, because I don't know what you teach, but I feel like most people need to do one on one for a bit to even
For a little
test to
bit.
make,
Yeah.
yeah, just to make sure that their process actually works for people. Trying to jump straight into a group or a course or something where you're like, I haven't even validated that this process works. I think it's easier to get reps with one on one to demonstrate that, okay, yes, the process is working, it's facilitating the transformation. But it's like, you don't have to stay there forever. And I also think for even a one on one service provider, there's so much value in having the scalable deliverables that
A
people can
thousand
use.
percent.
Yeah, and I feel like especially the world I live in, which is a lot of healthcare experts, I'm a dietitian by training. It's like beat into our heads that like your time is what's valuable, but I mean, it is valuable, it's very valuable, but it's usually not so valuable that people are going to pay what you want to be earning for that time to just
Mhm.
have access to you. And I feel like anyone who does one-on-one could have these scalable deliverables and make such a better quality offer than what they can even deliver with just one-on-one. So I'm glad you mentioned that because a lot of times people think, oh, it has to be a course, it has to be, a group program, and it can be. But even what you were saying about those tools, those resources, those things that you can bring in to replace the one-on-one and still, have a few one-on-ones here and there if you want them, but not feeling like you have to like ditch one-on-one entirely to have a more scalable automated business.
1,000%. And I think what I would love to just add here is a lot of times I also see people because, again, how we're wired, right? Besides the time that we need to exchange time for money, is that we work short term. We want to give results. And what I show people is how to provide a transformation. And transformation takes time. It's not a one call, two call type of thing. It's a 6 month container, which in turn gives you reoccurring revenue because people now understand that this is a transformation or even like a 12-month commitment, depending what you do. Because if you don't offer that, 99% of the time, the person will find a different coach to then take them to the next level. So if you don't offer a space to grow with you, then you will constantly need new clients. And my whole philosophy is I rather have less and scale with them and have like 95% retention rate because then I just need to add like one client a month and be scaling, massively. So I think it's just a different way to approach it. Again, works differently for different businesses, but I think in the arena where everybody's just wanting money, if you come in with intention, providing transformation and insane results for your clients long term, you will be winning regardless.
Mhm. And that's where I feel like in 2026, the market's really going, right? Is instead of this, like, how fast can you get a result and how big of a result can you promise? And then the person comes in and it's like, oh, by the way, this isn't actually likely to happen that fast. And most people don't get this result. And it's like people get so burned by that
Mm,
that I feel like being able to be really clear and honest about, yeah, this is a 6 month process. And it's not an overnight fix, but you're not trying to fix an overnight problem. This is something that,
mhm,
it's a bigger transformation. It is high value. And being able to speak really confidently to the intentionality of creating a container like that, I feel like is for most people, even if, yeah, they prefer it takes 6 weeks. Of course, we all want it to go fast, like you were saying. But if they can really get behind the intentionality of what you've designed, the way you've designed it, I feel like people want the result more than they care about it being like, a magic wand or a magic pill or something. So, and honestly, I feel like a lot of people kind of have been burnt by the magic wand offers. So they really want someone who's going to be truthful with them. And it sounds like that's exactly what you're helping your clients figure out is like, what is the actual process? What is realistic to take as far as time is concerned and selling from integrity and not selling like just to make the quick buck, like we were saying before.
yeah, exactly. And if you are in it for just the money, you won't last. It's not easy. It can be simple, but it's not easy, which are two very different things. So yeah, if you're in it just for the money, tap out now, save yourself time and, mental space and health. But if you're in it to leave a legacy, help people, then this is the cheat code to basically having it all.
I love it. Well, Sara, if people want to connect with you further and learn more about your methods and how you help your clients make more sales with their content, scale their business beyond one on one, where can they connect with you and learn more about what you do?
The easiest way would say is if you just find me on Instagram and then everything is there. So all you will do is type in SARAVEZ coach. So Sara Vez coach. You have access to, just send me a DM, say hi. But other than that, like the quick little strategy that I gave you on here today, I actually have a 40-minute masterclass on everything, like every single step that I took back in September to go from like, $0 months almost to like 100K in sales in 45 days, completely transform my business. And I would love to share it with your audience. So I'm sure you're going to put it in the show notes. They can look at it. It's every single step, not just the marketing, but then selling, the high ticket, the offer, like every single thing. So I would love for them to check that out. But as I said, I'm an open book. So you can come find me on Instagram, chat to me. I can direct you or, just help you with just unscrambling your brain from all the overwhelm online.
Hmm. And I really loved this question you asked me on your show. So I'm going to pop it right back to you. What is the one thing that you want to leave the audience with that will inspire them to really go after what's possible? Kind of like what you were saying, where you just had to see. And actually, I don't want to steal your thunder, but I loved what you're saying before about like you just needed to know that it was possible and you just went for it. So for the person who's like, man, that sounds really amazing to do it like that, what would you say to them?
I would say that, like, yes, no, I want to highlight the fact that you just brought that up, that whatever you wish for, you can have. Like, it's just simple as that. Like, it's already a guarantee in some sort of reality. Now, how you will get there and how you get through all these hurdles and stuff, I look at it this way. I call it brainwashing myself into success. And if they steal this streak, like, I hope it works for you too. But understanding the number one, whatever you wish for is already done. Like, there is a way how you can have it, because otherwise you couldn't think of it. But then how I treat it is, your brain and your subconscious is your inner GPS. So your inner GPS is going to take you to whatever you believe it is and that you want. So instead of like sitting here and, manifesting and just calling it in, which doesn't necessarily work, I treat it as like a long hallway of just a million doors. And I will go knock on any door. And like the first layer is going to be the least aligned. But all you're looking for is to the most aligned opportunity that will get you to the next step. And then the more doors you go through, the more aligned your opportunities were. And how I describe it is, you're driving with the GPS on a foggy road and you're just following the GPS. You have absolutely no idea what's around the corner or where your goal is. You're just kind of like blindly turning. But then once you're getting closer, you're coming to the top of the hill where like the fog goes away and you see your destination. So I would say that, treat it like that and understand that it is possible no matter what people are telling you. Like, your reality is not proof for anything. And the second thing that I would love to just highlight is that business can be simple. And if you're currently super busy, but your bank account is not reflecting your quote unquote busyness, busy does not make you money. So simplify it, because it can be simple, and only focus on money making activities. Do those every day, and you will get and grow your business way faster than tweaking funnels and sales pages and things that don't actually make a difference.
Picking fonts on Canva for your post that doesn't even
Yeah,
follow a structure or anything. So, well,
exactly.
so, Sada, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your journey, your expertise. And like I said, there's so much overlap with the stuff that I know works for our clients in our business and has been kind of the rinse and repeat even through the evolutions I've been through. It's like always going back to certain principles. So it's always awesome to chat with somebody who I'm like, yes, that is correct. Listen to her because that's accurate. So thank you so much for sharing with our audience.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, and thanks to all of you for hanging out with us. We will see you here next time on the Nourished CEO podcast. Take care, everybody. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Nourished CEO podcast. And if this episode got you thinking about how you're actually wired to run your business, your next step is to take the CEO type quiz. Because here's the thing. Most of the business advice out there was built for someone specific. And if that someone isn't you, it doesn't matter how hard you work or how many strategies you implement. It's just never going to feel right, and it's never going to work as well as it should. Knowing your CEO type changes all of that. After you take the quiz, your results page will walk you through your natural strengths, your biggest blind spots, and a concrete game plan for your offers, messaging, sales, and even your calendar, all built around how you actually think and lead. Not generic advice, your specific direction. It takes about 5 minutes and it's completely free. The link is in the show notes, or you can go to lauraschoenfeld.com/quiz. And if you already know your type and this episode resonated with you, share the quiz with someone else who needs it. The right framework at the right time can completely change how someone sees their business. And honestly, that's exactly why I made this. All right, I'll see you next time on the Nourished CEO podcast.